Mayday, Mayday. This is Gulfstream Kilo Tango 447. Our pilot had a heart attack. 8 people on board. Nobody knows how to fly. Riverside Private Airport Tower was in panic mode. Air traffic controller Sarah Mitchell locked onto her screen, searching for the nearest help. Her teammate Tim scanned the radar map beside her. "Where's the nearest pilot?" Sarah's voice was tight with urgency. 45 minutes out, from Oakland. "What about KT-447's fuel?" Tim swallowed hard, his finger trembling over the screen. 1 hour. Maybe 55 minutes if they're lucky with wind. The math was simple, but insufficient. 45 minutes help, 1 hour fuel. That left 15 minutes, not nearly enough margin for error. Not with 8 lives on the line. Sarah grabbed the radio with both hands. "KT-447, stay calm. Help is on the way. Keep autopilot engaged. Do not touch any controls. We're..." In the terminal building below, Janitor Marcus Reed stopped mid-swipe. He dropped his mop. The sound of it clattering against the polished marble floor echoed through the empty corridor. He pushed the bucket aside, soapy water sloshing over the rim. He'd heard the voice from the radio speaker mounted near the tower's stairwell. A speaker most people ignored, but one Marcus listened to every single day. Mayday, a word he hadn't heard in 8 years. A world he'd tried desperately to forget for 8 years. A world that had taken everything from him. Marcus stood frozen for 3 long seconds. His calloused hands that once commanded fighter jets through combat zones, now gripped nothing but air. His heart pounded, his breath shortened. Then he moved. He climbed the tower stairs 2 at a time, his janitor's uniform, faded blue with a name patch that simply read Marcus, still damp from cleaning. He reached the control room door, hesitated for just a moment, then pushed it open. Sarah and Tim both turned, annoyance flashing across their faces at the interruption.
"Excuse me," Marcus said. His voice was calm.
Measured, precise. The voice of someone who talked people through life and death situations before. "I heard the transmission. I can help." Tim frowned, his hand instinctively moving to shield his radar screen, as if this janitor might contaminate it. "Sir, we're in the middle of an emergency right now." "I'm a pilot," Marcus interrupted, his tone still calm, but now carrying an undercurrent of authority that made both controllers pause. "I flew for the Air Force for 20 years. Captain Marcus Reed, fighter jets, cargo planes, and private jets, including Gulfstream G550s, which is what you have up there. I resigned in 2017, but I didn't forget how to fly." Sarah studied him carefully. Mid-50s, graying hair, cut military short, plain janitor uniform with bleach stains on the sleeves. But his posture, ramrod straight, his eyes sharp, focused, alert, his hands steady, no tremor, despite the crisis unfolding. This wasn't just some janitor making a wild claim. "Can you prove it?" Sarah asked, her voice softer now, but still skeptical. Marcus pulled out his worn leather wallet, the kind that had seen decades of use. Inside, tucked behind an old photo of a woman and a young boy, was an Air Force ID card. Captain Marcus Reed, pilot. The photo was 20 years younger, but the face was unmistakably the same. Behind that was a pilot's license, commercial, instrument-rated, multi-engine. Expired in 2017, but all the certifications were there. Sarah looked at Tim. Tim looked at the radar screen showing KT-447 circling, fuel draining with every passing second, then back at Marcus. Tim shrugged helplessly. "We've got no other options. Nearest qualified pilot is 45 minutes out. They've got 55 minutes of fuel." Sarah made her decision. She grabbed the radio microphone. "KT-447, we've located a pilot. His name is Marcus Reed, former Air Force captain. He's going to talk you through the landing. Please acknowledge." The radio crackled with static. Then a woman's voice came through, strained, terrified, on the edge of hysteria. "A pilot? Where? Are you sending someone up?" "Negative," Sarah said carefully. "He's here at the tower. He'll guide you remotely. He has extensive experience with your aircraft type." A pause. Then, "You mean he's not coming up here? He's just going to talk us down? Are you insane?" Marcus gently took the microphone from Sarah's hand. When he spoke, his voice carried a weight that seemed to settle the panic crackling through the radio. "Miss Chen, my name is Marcus Reed. I flew for the United States Air Force for 20 years. F-16 Falcon fighters, C-130 Hercules cargo aircraft, and more than 50 different private jets including the exact Gulfstream G550 model you're currently flying. I logged over 200 combat missions in Iraq and Afghanistan. I've landed planes in sandstorms, at night with no runway lights, with failing engines, under enemy fire. I've talked pilots through emergencies from the ground more times than I can count." He paused, letting that sink in. "Today will be landing number 201 for me, but you need to trust me completely. Every instruction I give you, you follow exactly. No hesitation, no second guessing, no questions, because up there I'm not a janitor. I'm your pilot. Understood?" There was a long silence on the radio.
Marcus could hear muffled voices in the background, people arguing, crying. Then Victoria Chen's voice came back, still shaking but with a thread of steel in it now. Understood, Captain Reed. Marcus felt something shift inside him. A door he'd locked 8 years ago, creaking open just a crack. Good, he said. Now tell me the situation. Who's in the cockpit right now? Marcus Reed's story hadn't always been one of mops and buckets. He was born in Detroit, in a neighborhood where planes flying overhead were either headed to the airport or belonged to someone who'd never looked twice at the houses below. His father worked at a Ford plant, assembling the same car parts for 30 years until arthritis forced him into early retirement. His mother worked double shifts as a nurse, coming home with swollen feet and an exhausted smile that never quite reached her eyes. But Marcus was different. Marcus looked up. When he was 12 years old, standing in his backyard on a summer evening, he watched a small Cessna cruise overhead, its wings catching the golden sunset. The plane seemed so free, so unburdened by the weight of life on the ground. In that moment, Marcus made a promise to himself. One day, I'm going to fly. His parents thought it was a fantasy. Kids from their neighborhood didn't become pilots. They became factory workers, bus drivers, maybe nurses if they worked hard enough. But Marcus was relentless. He aced every class, especially math and physics. He joined the Air Force ROTC program in high school, waking at 5 a.m. for training while his classmates slept. He applied to the Air Force Academy and got rejected. He applied again the next year. Rejected. Third time, accepted. At the academy, Marcus thrived. While other cadets struggled with the pressure, Marcus found peace in the structure, the discipline, the absolute clarity of purpose. His instructors noticed. Reed doesn't just fly, one wrote in his evaluation. He becomes one with the aircraft. After graduation, Marcus was selected for fighter pilot training, the most competitive, most prestigious path in military aviation. He flew F-16 Falcons. The first time he broke the sound barrier, Marcus actually laughed with pure joy, something his stoic instructors had never heard from a pilot before. This is where I belong, he thought. Not on the ground, up here. For 20 years, Marcus flew. He served 3 tours in Iraq, 2 in Afghanistan. He logged over 2,000 flight hours in combat zones. He earned nicknames, the Iceman for his unshakable calm under fire, the Ghost for his ability to slip through enemy territory undetected. He was promoted to captain, decorated, respected. His commander once told him, "Reed, you're the kind of pilot who makes everyone around you better. You don't just fly the plane, you teach it to fly itself." But the best part of Marcus's life wasn't in the cockpit. It was Emma. He met her at a military hospital in Germany. Marcus had brought in a wounded comrade from a mission gone wrong, and Emma was the trauma surgeon who saved the man's life. After the surgery, Marcus found Emma in the hallway, still in her scrubs, exhausted but smiling. "Thank you," Marcus had said. "You saved him." Emma shook her head. "You brought him here in time. You saved him. Then we're a good team," Marcus said. Emma smiled. "We might be." They were married within a year. Emma was everything Marcus wasn't. Warm where he was reserved, emotional where he was analytical, spontaneous where he was methodical. But they balanced each other perfectly. They had a son, Jake, who looked exactly like Marcus, but had Emma's laugh, loud, uninhibited, full of life. Marcus tried to be present. He really did. But the missions kept calling. Deployments stretched from weeks to months. Birthdays were missed. Anniversaries celebrated over grainy video calls. Emma never complained. Not once. "I knew what I was marrying," she'd say, "a man who flies." But Marcus saw the loneliness in her eyes. The way she'd pause when planes flew overhead, wondering if one of them was him. "When I retire," Marcus promised her, "we'll travel the world, on commercial flights, as passengers. I'll hold your hand the whole way." Emma laughed. "I'm holding you to that." Then Marcus taught her to fly. It started as a date idea, a surprise flying lesson in a small Cessna 172, the same type of plane Marcus had first fallen in love with as a child. Emma was terrified at first, gripping the controls so hard her knuckles went white. "Relax," Marcus had said gently. "The sky isn't as scary as it looks. Trust the plane. Trust yourself." Emma eventually relaxed and discovered she loved it. Over the next 2 years, Marcus taught Emma everything: takeoffs, landings, navigation, emergency procedures. Emma earned her private pilot license. Marcus couldn't have been prouder. "Now we can fly together," Emma said. "Always," Marcus promised. But promises, Marcus would learn, are fragile things. It happened on a Tuesday. Emma was flying to visit her sister in Pennsylvania. A short hop in her Cessna, maybe 90 minutes of flight time. Marcus was on base, doing paperwork for an upcoming deployment. Before she left that morning, Marcus glanced at the weather report. A storm system was developing along Emma's route. "Maybe postpone until tomorrow," Marcus suggested. "Weather looks rough." Emma shook her head. It's just some clouds, I've flown through worse. Marcus hesitated. He could have insisted, could have pulled rank as the more experienced pilot. But Emma was capable, certified, she'd handled challenges before. Okay, Marcus said, but stay in radio contact. If it gets bad, land somewhere and wait it out. Emma kissed him. Stop worrying. I'll be fine. I love you. I love you too. Those were the last words Marcus said to his wife. 3 hours later, Marcus's phone rang. It was the FAA. Emma's plane had crashed in a field outside Harrisburg. The storm had worsened unexpectedly. Emma had become disoriented in heavy clouds and rain, lost control. The plane went down nose first. She died instantly, they told him. She didn't suffer, they said. But Marcus suffered, because Marcus had taught her to fly. Marcus had certified her as ready. Marcus had said okay when he should have said no. At the funeral, Jake, only 14 years old, held his father's hand. Dad, it's not your fault, it was an accident. But Marcus knew better. He'd trained pilots. He'd written safety protocols. He knew that accidents were just failures in a chain, and he was a link in that chain. 2 weeks after the funeral, Marcus resigned from the Air Force. His commander tried to stop him. Marcus, you're one of our best. We need you. The missions. I don't care about the missions, Marcus said flatly. I taught my wife to fly, and she died because of it. I won't touch another plane. I won't train another pilot. I won't be responsible for another death. This wasn't your fault. It doesn't matter, Marcus said. I'm done. He was 46 years old. No college degree outside military training. No civilian job skills except flying. Something he'd sworn never to do again. 8 years passed in a blur. Marcus moved to Riverside, far from any air bases, far from anyone who knew Captain Marcus Reed. Jake went to college, studying aerospace engineering, wanting to follow his father's path. Marcus was terrified, but said nothing. He'd failed Emma. He wouldn't fail Jake. Marcus needed work. He applied everywhere. Security firms, courier services, anything. But who wanted a 54-year-old ex-pilot with an 8-year gap in his resume? Finally, he found an opening at Riverside Private Airport. Maintenance and janitorial services, minimum wage, night shifts. The irony wasn't lost on Marcus, spending his nights cleaning the same terminals where pilots walked, where planes took off, where the world he'd abandoned continued without him. But he told himself it was penance. Every floor he mopped, every toilet he scrubbed, every window he cleaned, it was paying back a debt he could never fully repay. The other employees barely noticed him. To them, Marcus was just the quiet janitor, always on time, always thorough, never talked much. But every night, Marcus would take one break. At exactly 3 a.m., when the private jets were all grounded and the terminal was silent, Marcus would go to the observation window on the second floor. He'd stand there and look at the planes parked on the tarmac. Gulfstreams, Learjets, Cessnas like the one Emma had flown. And he'd remember the feel of the control stick in his hand, the sound of the engines roaring to life, the moment of liftoff when the wheels left the ground and you were suddenly flying, suddenly free. He'd remember Emma in the co-pilot seat, laughing, saying this is incredible. He'd remember teaching her how to bank left, how to read the altimeter, how to trust her instincts. Then he'd remember the phone call, the funeral, Jake's hand in his, and Marcus would close his eyes, whisper I'm sorry Emma, and go back to mopping, until today. Today the radio crackled with a Mayday call, and Marcus had a choice, keep mopping, keep hiding, keep punishing himself, or save 8 lives. Who's in the cockpit? Marcus asked again into the radio. Victoria Chen's voice came through, tighter now, more controlled. My head of security, Dave Mitchell. He's 28 years old, former Marine, but no pilot training. He moved the pilot, Captain Michael Torres, out of the seat. Tried CPR. No response, no pulse. Marcus closed his eyes briefly. Heart attack. Quick. The pilot probably didn't even know what hit him. At least he didn't suffer. Understood, Marcus said. Dave, can you hear me? A new voice came through. Younger, male, trying desperately to sound calm but failing. Yes, sir. I hear you. Dave, I need you to take a deep breath. Right now. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Silence. Then breathing sounds over the radio. Good, Marcus said. Now listen carefully. You're not alone up there. I'm with you, every step of the way. I've flown this exact plane. I know every button, every lever, every system. You're going to be my hands, and I'm going to be your eyes. Together, we're going to land safely. Do you believe me? A pause. Then Dave's voice, steadier now. Yes, sir. I believe you. Good. Now tell me what you see in front of you. Marcus spent the next 40 minutes walking Dave through everything. First, understanding the instruments, the altimeter showing 35,000 feet, the airspeed indicator reading 450 knots, the autopilot engaged, keeping them in a gentle holding pattern, the fuel gauge reading 52 minutes remaining. Sarah watched Marcus work, her initial skepticism melting away. This wasn't some janitor pretending to know aviation. This was a master at work. Marcus's voice never wavered, never rushed. Every instruction was clear. simple, confident. Dave, on your left, there's a panel of switches. Find the one labeled COM1. It should have a green light. Found it. Good. Now below that, there's a dial. Turn it to 118.5. That's the tower frequency. Turning. Okay, it's set. Perfect. Now you're directly linked to the tower. Anything happens, you talk to Sarah here. She's an excellent controller. Sarah blinked in surprise at the compliment, but Marcus was already moving forward. Now Dave, I need you to disengage the autopilot. But don't panic when you do. The plane won't fall. It'll just be your turn to fly. Dave's breathing quickened. I don't know if I can. You can, Marcus said firmly, because I'm going to guide you through every single second. On the count of 3, press the AP button. 1, 2, 3. A click over the radio. Then a slight change in engine noise. What's happening? Victoria's voice cut in, panicked. The plane is moving. That's normal, Marcus said calmly. Dave just took over manual control. Dave, grab the yoke. That's the control wheel in front of you. Hold it steady, like holding a steering wheel when you're driving straight. I'm holding it, Dave said, his voice tight. It's shaking. That's just turbulence, Marcus explained. Small air pockets, nothing dangerous. Keep it steady. You're doing great. Slowly, Dave's breathing regulated. The plane stabilized. Sarah leaned over to Marcus and whispered, "You're really good at this." Marcus didn't smile. "I've had a lot of practice talking people down. Just never thought I'd do it again." Marcus began Dave's descent from 35,000 feet. "Dave, see the 2 levers on your left? Those are the throttles. They control engine power. We're going to pull them back just a tiny bit, half an inch. Pulling back. The engine noise decreased slightly. The plane's nose dipped. Good. Now you're descending. Watch the altimeter. It should start counting down. It's moving. 34,900. Perfect. We're going to descend at 500 feet per minute. Nice and gentle, like going down a hill in a car. Over the next 20 minutes, Marcus guided Dave down through the sky. 30,000 feet, 25,000, 20,000. At 18,000 feet, they hit turbulence. The plane bucked hard. Dave yelled. Victoria screamed in the background. Something crashed. Probably a laptop or suitcase. Stay calm. Marcus's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Dave, keep the yoke steady. Don't overcorrect. The plane's shaking apart. It's not, Marcus said with absolute certainty. It's just rough air. Planes are built for this. Hold steady. It'll pass. It did. 30 seconds later, the turbulence ended. Dave was breathing hard. I thought we were crashing. You did great, Marcus said. That's exactly how you handle turbulence. You stayed calm. You kept control. I'm proud of you. Something in Dave's voice changed, became more confident. Thank you, sir. Marcus found himself smiling despite everything. Teaching again. Helping someone else become a better pilot, even if just for one flight. Maybe, Marcus thought, this is how I make it right, not by hiding, but by using what I know to save lives. At 10,000 feet, Marcus prepared Dave for the hardest part. Dave, we're getting close. I need you to deploy the landing gear now. There's a lever near your right knee. It's shaped like a wheel. Pull it down. Dave found it. Pulled. A loud mechanical thunk, thunk, thunk echoed through the plane. What was that? Jennifer, the pregnant CFO, screamed from the back. That's the landing gear, Marcus explained over the radio, speaking to everyone now. 3 wheels just extended from the belly of the plane. That's good. That means we're getting ready to land. How? How much longer? Victoria asked, her voice cracking. Marcus looked at the radar. 12 minutes to touchdown. Everyone needs to be buckled in, tight. Remove glasses, jewelry, anything sharp. Put your heads between your knees. This landing might be rough. He paused. But you're going to survive. I promise you that. At 5,000 feet, Sarah tapped Marcus on the shoulder. The runway. They need to see the runway. Marcus nodded. Dave, look straight ahead. Do you see a long gray strip? That's the runway. Yes, I see it. Good. Now we're going to line up with it. Turn right, very gently, just a few degrees. The plane turned. Straighten out. The plane straightened. Perfect. Now you're on approach. We're going to descend to 3,000 feet. Down they went, the runway growing larger in Dave's windscreen. At 3,000 feet, Marcus gave the next critical instruction. Dave, time to deploy flaps. There's a lever labeled flaps. Move it to position 2. Moving. The plane shuddered as the wing flaps extended, creating more drag. Speed's dropping, Dave said, alarm creeping back into his voice. That's supposed to happen, Marcus assured him. Flaps slow you down for landing. Now push the throttle forward, just a little to compensate. Dave did. The plane stabilized at a slower speed, 2,000 feet now. The runway was close, very close. Marcus could feel his own heart racing now. This was it, the moment of truth. Dave, listen to me very carefully. In about 90 seconds, we're going to touch down. When I say now, I need you to pull the throttle all the way back, cut the engines, and pull the yoke toward you. That'll raise the nose. The rear wheels will touch first, then the nose. Then you brake. Hard. Understand? I think so. Not good enough, Marcus said, his voice sharp now. Do you understand? Yes, sir. 1,000 feet. 500 feet. Marcus watched the radar altitude indicator. 50 feet above the ground now. Pull throttle. Raise nose. Dave pulled. The engines went silent. The yoke came back. The plane's nose rose. The rear wheels kissed the runway. Thump. Then the nose gear. Thump. They were down. But they were going fast. Way too fast. Brake. Marcus shouted. Stomp on the pedals. Dave stomped. The brakes engaged. The plane screeched, skidding along the runway. Marcus watched the radar. They were running out of runway. 6,000 feet of runway. They'd touched down at the 1,000-foot mark. That left 5,000 feet to stop. But they were going 120 knots. Way too fast. 4,000 feet of runway left. 3,000 feet. 2,000 feet. The plane wasn't stopping fast enough. Full brake. Marcus yelled. Everything you've got. Dave pressed harder. The tires screamed. 1,000 feet left. 500 feet. Sarah closed her eyes. Tim turned away. Marcus didn't. He watched the radar. 300 feet. 200 feet. Then, the plane stopped. Complete silence over the radio. Then Dave's voice, shaking, disbelieving. We stopped. We're on the ground. We're alive. Marcus exhaled for what felt like the first time in an hour. Yes, Dave. You did it. You landed the plane. Captain Torres was loaded onto a stretcher, still unconscious but stable. He'd survive. The passengers disembarked one by one, legs shaking, some crying, some laughing in disbelief. Victoria Chen was the last off. She stood on the tarmac, looked up at the sky, and burst into tears. Her assistant Laura hugged her. We're alive. We're actually alive. Dave climbed down from the cockpit, his shirt soaked with sweat, his hands still trembling. An EMT tried to check him, but Dave waved him off. Where is he? Dave asked. Where's Marcus Reed? Sarah pointed toward the terminal. He's in there. Dave ran. Marcus had quietly left the tower as soon as the plane stopped. He didn't wait for thanks or recognition. He simply picked up his mop and bucket from where he'd left them an hour ago and went back to work. He was cleaning the men's bathroom on the first floor when Dave found him. Captain Reed. Marcus turned, surprised. The young security guard stood in the doorway, still in his dress shirt and tie, still looking shell-shocked. You don't have to call me captain, Marcus said. I'm just a janitor. Dave walked forward, extended his hand. You saved 8 lives today, sir, including mine. You're not just anything. Marcus hesitated, then shook Dave's hand. Dave's grip was firm, grateful. You did the hard part, Marcus said. You kept calm. You followed instructions. You landed the plane. Because you taught me, Dave said. In an hour, you taught me what it takes people months to learn. Marcus managed a small smile. You had good instincts. Marine training probably helped. Before Dave could respond, the bathroom door burst open again. Victoria Chen stood there, still in her business suit, her makeup smeared from crying, but her eyes fierce and determined. She marched up to Marcus, and before he could react, hugged him. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for giving me my life back. Marcus stood stiffly, uncomfortable with the affection. You're welcome, Miss Chen. Victoria pulled back, wiping her eyes. I need to know why. Why did you help us? You could have just kept cleaning. Nobody would have blamed you. Marcus was quiet for a moment, then because 8 years ago, I didn't save someone I loved. Today, I had a chance to save 8 people I didn't know. I couldn't walk away from that. Victoria studied him. Your wife? Yes, I'm sorry. Marcus nodded. Me too. Victoria pulled a business card from her pocket. I'm a CEO. I run a tech company, and I'm going to make sure you're rewarded for this. Whatever you need. I don't need a reward, Marcus said firmly. Then what do you need? Marcus looked out the bathroom window at the planes parked on the tarmac. I need to stop running from who I used to be, he said quietly. 2 weeks later, Marcus received a phone call from the FAA. They wanted to interview him about the emergency. Standard procedure, Marcus agreed. But when he arrived at the FAA office, he found more than investigators waiting. Victoria was there. So was Dave. So was Jennifer, the pregnant CFO, her belly noticeably larger now. And so was Captain Michael Torres, the pilot who'd had the heart attack, now recovered, standing with the aid of a cane, but very much alive. Captain Reed, Michael said, extending his hand. I'm told I owe you my passengers' lives. Marcus shook his hand. You would have done the same. Maybe, Michael said, but I wasn't able to. You were. He paused. The FAA is considering reinstating your pilot's license. Apparently what you did demonstrated extraordinary skill and judgment. Their words. Marcus blinked. I don't know if I want. You don't have to fly, Victoria interrupted. But you should teach. Teach. Victoria handed him a folder. Inside were contracts, proposals, letters of recommendation. I'm funding a new aviation safety program, Victoria explained. Teaching pilots crisis management, emergency procedures, how to stay calm when everything goes wrong. I want you to run it. Marcus stared at the papers. I'm not sure I'm qualified. You just talked a Marine with 0 flight training through landing a jet, Dave said with a grin. I think you're qualified. Marcus looked at all of them, these people whose lives he'd saved, who were now trying to save him. "I'll think about it," Marcus said. Victoria smiled. "That's all I ask." That night, Marcus called Jake. "Dad?" Jake answered. "Everything okay?" "Yes," Marcus said. "Actually, I need to tell you something." He explained everything. The emergency, the landing, Victoria's offer. Jake was silent for a long moment. Then, "Dad, are you going to do it?" "I don't know," Marcus admitted. "Part of me thinks I should stay away from flying forever, because of what happened to your mom." "Mom wouldn't want that," Jake said quietly. "She loved flying. She loved that you taught her. What happened was an accident. A terrible, horrible accident. But it wasn't your fault." Marcus felt his eyes burning. "I've been telling myself it was for 8 years. "I know," Jake said. "But it's time to stop, Dad. Mom would want you to fly again, to teach again, to save people, because that's who you are." Marcus wiped his eyes. "When did you get so wise?" Jake laughed. "I had a good teacher." 6 months later. Marcus Reed stood in front of a classroom of 50 pilots, young, old, civilian, military, all of them listening intently as Marcus explained crisis management protocols. "In an emergency," Marcus said, "your training will save you, but only if you trust it. Panic is your enemy, calm is your weapon, and communication is your lifeline." He clicked to the next slide, a photo of Dave in the cockpit, headset on, focused. "This is Dave Mitchell. 6 months ago, he had 0 flight training. Today he successfully landed a Gulfstream G550 with 8 people aboard. How? Because he stayed calm, because he trusted guidance, because he didn't give up." The pilots applauded. After the class, Marcus found Sarah waiting outside. Sarah Mitchell, the air traffic controller who'd been in the tower that day. Over the past 6 months, Marcus and Sarah had worked together on the aviation safety program. She provided the ATC perspective, he provided the pilot perspective. They made a good team, but lately, it had become more than professional. "Good class," Sarah said, smiling. "Thanks," Marcus said. "You coming to dinner tonight?" "Wouldn't miss it." They walked together toward the parking lot. Overhead, a plane took off, its engines roaring. Marcus looked up and smiled. For the first time in 8 years, that sound didn't hurt. It felt like home. The end.